My name is Sam Khan. I am the VP of Data Science at Ticker OmniView. I've been with Ticker for about 5 years, and I came to Ticker through an acquisition of the startup I worked at called MarketSpace, where I was the lead data scientist. Before that, I worked at Salesforce.com on their intelligence team as a data scientist. And then before that, I worked at NASA doing AI research and energy systems. So I've been in the AI space for a while. So I'm excited to talk to you about what we have built at Ticker. And I'm specifically going to talk to you guys about a type of analytics called prescriptive analytics and how companies can go from the most basic form of analytics, which is descriptive analytics, and move towards what's called prescriptive analytics. And I'm going to go into what this all means. Using Ticker's platform and Datahawk's data, empowering it. So you can get forecasting, you can get recommendations, and basically like a periscope into the future for what might happen to your business if you were to make certain decisions. So I'm going to start off with this AI analytic ascendancy model, which was published by Gartner. I wouldn't be surprised if a fair amount of you have actually seen this, but I think it lays it out pretty well. I think of it as a ladder, right? And as you mature as a data company, you go up this ladder. So as you move up and right, the value the type of analytics can bring to your company increases, but it becomes more difficult to operationalize, right? So, descriptive analytics is the most basic form, that's looking into the past, and same with diagnostic analytics, but really where you can get the most value and get, understand what's going to happen to your business in the future if you were to make certain decisions is through predictive and prescriptive analytics. And prescriptive analytics is really, asking an artificial intelligence algorithm, a statistical model, a machine learning algorithm. They're all basically the same phrase for the kind of the same concept. Asking them, if I were to increase my keyword ranking for a certain, keyword, what would my sales be next quarter or in 4 weeks? If I were to increase my price, right? How would that affect my future sales or, market share or whatever, right? So, that prescriptive lens really helps you optimize your business in the future, right? Looking into the past is important, but you want to, make decisions and have a lens into what is going to happen to your business in the future if you were to make certain decisions. So, why doesn't everybody do this, right? And it really comes down to the fact that data teams are expensive. They're expensive in money and in time, right? So, I think we all know that, these job titles listed out are fairly expensive to hire. So, building these teams and training them, takes a long time, and especially to understanding business context, understanding goals, and building a platform can become very, very expensive. And lastly, for those of you who have worked with data scientists or data engineers, oftentimes the analyses they produce are static. They're not scalable. So it's not on a platform where every day the recommendations update based off new data that's become available, right? So with Datahawk's data refreshes every single day. So that empowers our algorithms to give fresh recommendations and fresh predictions for what's going to happen to your business, right? So you can kind of think of Ticker and Datahawk as kind of like your data scientist, data team in your pocket, right? So, you can maybe imagine this as Ticker, right? That's your data team. And we're here with Datahawk to answer the most crucial questions about your e-commerce business, Amazon specifically here. Those questions, these are some of the core ones our clients ask us, right? And I've highlighted the prescriptive questions, the questions where they're forward-looking and you want to know how to make something happen. I've highlighted those in blue, right? And then, the ones in black, I'd call those more diagnostic or descriptive analytics, but really those key questions we want to answer with Ticker's engine are the ones highlighted in blue. And, we don't ignore the ones in black, right? But those naturally get answered by having prescriptive algorithms, right? So, wondering whether your product is elastic or inelastic, that helps you with past pricing. But, asking the question, what will be my optimal price? Looking forward, what worked in the past might not work in the future. So you need algorithms that take into account, what they think will happen in the future. And then, as we go down, I think the questions get more and more important, right? So really the last one, what is the optimal way to maximize my sales, or whatever optimization KPI you're trying to optimize towards? That's really what we're trying to solve for at Ticker. So, how do we do prescriptive analytics with Datahawk? So we start with our platform, which is comprised of, several different types of proprietary AI algorithms we've developed. And then we have an ingestion phase where every single day we ingest Datahawk's data, right? So Datahawk exposes their data to us through Snowflake or through their API. And since their data is so good and so updated so regularly, our algorithms are what is called online, meaning they update as every single day as new data gets exposed from Datahawk. Now, anyone who's spent time working with data scientists, or is a data scientist, or has done machine learning, what affects your Amazon business is not just what's going on Amazon, right? I think for those of us in the US, the biggest and the most relevant example right now is inflation and the fear of recession. So we combine Datahawk's data with other data sources to give what we call an omni-view experience. And that helps us estimate better what you should do with your Amazon business, right? So we ingest several different types of data sources just to help our algorithms understand a little bit what's going on kind of in the environment outside of Amazon, right? So, Bureau of Labor Statistics, we have partnerships with news providers, with social providers, your Google Suite, shopper level data with Numerator. So we ingest lots of other data sources, technically called, heterogeneous data sources, to help our algorithms really understand what's going on in the world. And that makes our estimates of what we recommend back to you much better. And then finally, once our algorithms are trained, we expose the AI algorithm through a front end, right? So the front end is really just a way so Mr. and Mrs. Everyone, excuse me, can ask the algorithm questions. So what would happen to my sales if I were to increase my price by $2? What would be my sales for that? Would I see an uptick in sales? Would I see a downtick in sales? What would happen, if I were to improve my ranking for certain keywords, right? That's that prescriptive layer we add on top of it. And the front end is really just an interface so we can ask the AI questions. So yeah, this is a little bit high level at this point. It's kind of hard to see what's going on. So I think I'll just jump into a demo. Let me see if I can do this smoothly. All right, so I'm going to log into the Ticker platform right now. This is mostly Datahawk's data feeding our platform right now. So what you're seeing is sales data for Pete's Coffee, and one of their K-Cups, kind of those pods that you can use those little pod machines for. I believe it's a 75 pack. And this is their estimated sales data coming from Datahawk. We might input advertising data, but we can't show that in the context of this demo. So this is all data that we can show, that I'm showing you. So this is sales data, as I said, coming from Datahawk. And then this is us forecasting, what sales will be. So obviously there was some big uptick right here. And then our algorithm has, accommodated and kind of corrected for what it thinks is going to happen. So this is that prescriptive component of our algorithm, or sorry, predictive component of our algorithm. We're predicting what the sales will be if things were to stay the same. So, going down, we haven't even touched on the prescriptive part of, our platform yet, but we can see the inputs to our model, right? And what we fed our model so it can understand, future landscape, right? Future landscape of, what might happen to your sales or, whatever you're trying to optimize towards. So these are the inputs, and they're ranked in order of how predictive they are, right? And you can see this data is obviously coming straight from Datahawk, right? And then some of this data is like through our partnerships. So we have, partnerships with news providers, and then we have AI algorithms to help us understand if news is positive or negative. This is known as sentiment analysis. Same with, data coming from Twitter. So, we still haven't gotten prescriptive. I'm just showing you the inputs to the model. So now, let's ask the algorithm a question. Let's ask it, what would happen if I were to improve my sponsored search rank for K-cups, right? So these are K-cups pods. So you presume that I could see an uptick in sales, right? Maybe this is not a realistic, increase, but the algorithm is understanding based off historic data and what it thinks is going to happen in the future. This could be the uptick in sales you might see, right? So then let's ask it, like, what would happen if we were to increase the number of positive Twitter mentions on Twitter, right? So let's say we were to increase it by, roughly 10,000. Probably not realistic, right? That'd be pretty hard to do. The algorithm will still tell you what it thinks will happen, right? We can go down further. We can ask it, instead of sponsored search rank, we could think about organic search rank, which is happening organically, but would that affect our sales? We'd see a little bit of an uptick in sales, right? So I personally am not, I'm not an e-commerce, professional. So sometimes this can feel a little overwhelming where I should, how and where I should optimize my business, right? So I can ask the algorithm for a recommendation, right? Something that's realistic. So if I were able to like change all these levers, this is a realistic starting point. I could expect my, these are the realistic recommendations it gives, right? And so we have a sub algorithm for each one of these levers that looks and makes sure that what we're recommending to you is realistic, right? I think, personally, one of the more interesting on here is it has recommended that you should increase the price of your products. In this case, the price of the K-cups or Pete's K-cups. So what that's telling me is the algorithm is picking up that the product was inelastic, right? Meaning that you can increase the price, and then even if the demand of the product were to decrease, you would recuperate that decrease by the increase in price, right? So it's finding that threshold where a product goes from, inelastic or positive elastic to negative elastic, where you're going to start losing money, right? So this is it helping us optimize kind of these pricing scenarios, right? It suggested, an increase in positive Twitter mentions, not as extreme as I originally set it to, but it suggested that you try and increase them by 7,000. Maybe not realistic. Maybe what's realistic is a few thousand, but it gives you that starting point to further optimize what you're going to do in the future. It suggests that you increased your bestseller rank by 3. Like, no duh, right? Like, bestseller rank means that you have more sales. Maybe that's not realistic. You move that to 9. You'll see some type of downtick in sales, right? Which you can see reflected on the front end. So, just a little bit more about our algorithms. So they model for seasonality, they model for trend, They model for events, holidays. And then we have something called trend point detection algorithms, which detect changes in trend, meaning something like COVID comes along, our algorithms will detect that and they'll accommodate the way they forecast and recommend. And then the last thing is down here and to the left. This is just another little module we've added to help people understand what the most predictive drivers of sales are. And predictive drivers doesn't necessarily mean that when you change that, you're going to get the biggest increase in sales. What it really means is it helps the algorithm predict the best, right? So it's clear to it that price is the most predictive thing, meaning that how you change your price will help the algorithm forecast the best, right? But it also is very important for, you know, your future sales. So yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, you know, feel free to reach out at sam@ticker.com. I'm gonna try and full screen so I can see if people have questions. One second. I don't see any questions. So yeah, I think that's probably it then. I appreciate you guys' time. If anybody has questions about the types of algorithms we use, I'm happy to, you know, divulge as much as I can. You know, they're proprietary, but I can give insight into what we're doing. If anybody wants to try it out, feel free to reach out. And yeah, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.